Revealed, how a millionaire's wife forced a black maid to sing at their wedding. Her amazing response. Clara stared in disbelief as Veronica Montgomery, the bride-to-be, grinned and handed her a microphone, like it was a birthday gift. A part of her felt like she was being pulled into a twisted fairy tale, where the maid is treated like a novelty act instead of a person. $1 million wedding, and the highlight wasn't the bride or groom, it was the maid. The thought twisted Clara's stomach. She wasn't just a lady-in-waiting, she had ambitions, dreams that wove through her heart like a patchwork quilt, sewn together with whispers of hope. Living in a vast mansion decorated with gold trimmings and sparkling chandeliers could feel suffocating for someone with aspirations as radiant as Clara's voice. Each day, she polished the Montgomery's family heirlooms, their worth almost laughable compared to the impending weight of her dreams. Yet, there she was, consumed by fear, caught between loyalty and self-worth, wondering if Veronica saw her for more than the way she dusted and scrubbed. But Veronica's laughter echoed off the marble walls, treating Clara like some kind of entertainment, and it made her chest tight. "Just do it, Clara. I promise it'll be charming." The bride's enthusiasm felt like a storm gathering, threatening to overwhelm her. Clara's heart sank further. Was she just a footnote in someone else's extravagant story? "Don't let them use you," Tyrese had urged during their last phone call. His voice rang in her ears, a constant reminder of her worth. "You're not just a maid, you're a star waiting to shine." Those words ignited a spark within her, a flicker of indignation combined with something new. It felt like defiance. She had grown up with dirt beneath her nails and dreams too fragile to show anyone, but she also had fire. Clara practiced each night in her tiny apartment, pouring every drop of pain, longing, and resentment into the melodies that flowed from her. She longed for the day someone would truly hear her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The day of the wedding dawned bright, almost mocking her emotional turmoil. Clara stood backstage, the exquisite decor of the venue sending jolts of anxiety through her. She could hear laughter and clinking glasses, but all she felt was the weight of 1,000 eyes waiting in anticipation. Then came the moment. As she stepped onto the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. This was now her stage, her moment, not just for the Montgomerys, but for herself. When she opened her mouth, the first notes floated out, fragile at first but building into a powerful anthem. The song wasn't merely a performance, it was her story, her plea for recognition. She poured her heart into it, and for a split second, she saw the crowd transform. They were captivated. But then, the sight of Veronica's scowl hit her like ice water. Doubt curled in her chest, but she pressed on. Would they finally see her? Or was she destined to remain forever a shadow in their dazzling light? As Clara sang, the melody draped over the crowd like a warm blanket, crashing against Veronica's disdainful glare. She could feel the energy shift in the air, almost like a heartbeat composed of hope and defiance. As the notes wrapped around her, Clara became a tempest, letting the anguish and joy of her journey spill into the room. She was no longer just a maid, she was a powerhouse, firing on all cylinders against the norms that sought to hold her back. But all it took was one glance at Veronica, and that fiery resolve flickered. The bride's expression twisted into something unrecognizable, a wretched blend of anger and condescension. Clara's voice wavered momentarily, caught in the crossfire of her emotions, but the crowd remained transfixed, oblivious to the tension brewing behind the curtain of her performance. As she reached the chorus, she poured everything into it, her fears, hopes, and the painful history of being overlooked. With each note, she understood that this moment was as much hers as anyone else's. She took a breath, a deep, cleansing inhale that filled her lungs with ambition, and let it all out. The song erupted, vibrant and raw, echoing across the wide hall. Cheerful faces stared back at her, mouths agape in awe. She saw the glimmer of recognition in the eyes of a few guests, a flicker of understanding that hinted they were finally beginning to see her for who she was, more than just invisible labor. Clara tightened her grip on the microphone, the cold metal warming to her touch, and allowed herself to fully embrace this unexpected spotlight. An elderly woman near the front wiped away a tear, and another guest leaned in to whisper to her neighbors, she should be up on that stage every night. Clara felt the rush of adrenaline, flooding her spirit with an electric thrill. What if this was not just a wedding performance? What if this was her breakout moment, the seed of change? But Veronica's glare pierced her, and Clara's heartbeat quickened. Why was she so threatened? The joyous cheers of the crowd swirled around her like a protective shield, shielding her from the storm that raged within Veronica. Clara insisted on keeping her focus. The song swelled into a bass of emotion, pushing her higher, lifting her spirit beyond the gilded cage of her circumstance. As she finished, the audience erupted in applause, but all Clara could see was Veronica, the bride's fury simmering just below the surface. She was losing control. The very spectacle she had created was now eclipsing her perfect day. Clara stood there, breathless and teetering on the edge of uncertainty. What happens next? Would Veronica lash out? Would the divorce of her dramatic expectations and reality bring consequences she couldn't foresee? The applause faded, and doubt crept back, merging with adrenaline, leaving a bitter taste behind. With every fiber of her being, Clara felt the dawn of liberation swell in her chest, a battle cry for all who had been silenced. Was this enough? Was this the turning point in rewriting her story, or would she find herself sinking back into the shadows once again? As she stepped off the stage, her heart raced. Something monumental lingered just out of reach. The crowd's reaction was not just applause, it was a tectonic shift. But what would that mean for her unsteady path ahead? Clara stepped off the stage, her legs feeling like jelly beneath her. The applause still echoed in her ears, but all she could think about was Veronica's face, twisted in anger. The laughter and cheers felt distant now, like a memory from someone else's life. She made her way through the throng of guests, who were still buzzing with excitement, but her heart sank with each step away from the spotlight. Clara! You were amazing! A young woman exclaimed, beaming as she reached for her. Thank you, Clara replied quietly, forcing a smile. The woman's excitement felt heavy, as if it was tethered to the weight of her reality. The wedding party had started to gather again, but in the corner of her eye, Clara caught sight of Veronica. She was clenching her jaw, her eyes darting around searching. Other guests greeted the bride with congratulations, but Veronica stood isolated, her beauty marred by the storm brewing within her. Clara! Veronica's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. It was sharp, commanding, and unmistakable. Clara's heart pounded harder as she hesitated, looking back at the swarming group of happy faces who eagerly approached her. Just a minute, she muttered to the young woman clinging to her arm. With immense effort, Clara turned towards the bride, her palms sweating. What could she possibly want? Come here, Veronica snapped, her tone laced with urgency that felt foreboding. Clara walked over, trying to summon the courage that had spilled forth on stage. As she drew closer, she saw that Veronica's face was flushed, an angry red. What were you thinking? Veronica hissed, her voice barely above a whisper, an ironic mimicry of the calm that she desperately tried to portray. I was singing. It was my moment, Clara replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Inside, she was a bundle of nerves, anticipating a wrath she couldn't comprehend. Your moment. Veronica's words dripped with scorn. My wedding was supposed to be perfect. And you thought it was your time to shine? That's not what this was about, Clara shot back, the words tumbling out before she could filter them. I have a voice too. You might have glamour, but I have something real. A silence stretched between them, thick and tense. Clara could see confusion flicker across Veronica's face, quickly masked by irritation. "You're just a maid. Remember your place." Veronica snapped, taking a harsh step back. The blow felt like ice water down Clara's spine, but somehow it reignited the embers of her earlier performance. "I'm a maid, but I'm also a person. Just like you. Just because your world is different doesn't mean I won't rise." In that moment, Clara felt the crowd's energy ripple through her, resonating with a truth she couldn't ignore. Veronica was furious, her hands balled into fists. "How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you treat me like I don't matter?" Clara countered, her voice rising, shifting in tone from anger to a fierce, burning advocacy for her worth. Guests began to notice the confrontation, whispers peppering the air like falling leaves. The once celebratory mood started to crack, revealing an uncomfortable tension. With determination boiling in her veins, Clara took a step closer to Veronica, willing the fear to drain away. "This isn't just your day anymore. People deserve to hear my voice. It's time for change." As the words hung heavy in the air, Clara realized that this struggle was about much more than her performance. It was about the very essence of who she was. Facing down the bride, she stood resolute, ready to fight for her space in this world that often pushed her aside. But as Veronica's gaze narrowed, Clara felt a twinge of dread. What was coming next? Would anger give way to retribution? The atmosphere crackled with tension and possibility, and Clara couldn't tell if she was standing on the edge of liberation or the brink of disaster. Would her act of defiance bring change, or would it only tighten the grip of the very forces she sought to escape? Clara's breath felt trapped in her throat as she met Veronica's piercing gaze. The tension hung thick in the air, pulling the attention of the guests like moths drawn to a flame. Each whisper, each raised eyebrow, seemed to deepen the chasm between them. Veronica opened her mouth, the words ready to fly like daggers. "You think you can just take what belongs to me? You're nothing but a distraction." Her voice trembled, a mix of fury and fear barely held in check. Clara's heart raced. Distraction? Was that all she was to Veronica? Just an obstacle in her perfect life? "I am not a distraction. I am here. I deserve to be heard," she yelled, the urgency of her words surprising even herself. Guests exchanged uncertain glances, torn between supporting the bride and empathizing with the underdog maid. Clara could feel the momentum of the room shifting, but she had to push harder. "Maybe this whole event isn't just about you. Maybe it's about the love that brings everyone together. Why can't you see that?" Veronica took a step forward, her expression a volatile mix of disbelief and resentment. "Do you really think that just because you sang a song, you deserve a place among us? You don't belong here." Clara felt the sting of those words, but instead of collapsing under their weight, she straightened her back. She had spent far too long cowering in the shadows of others. "Maybe not in your world, but I have my own," she retorted. "I have friends who believe in me, who see who I truly am. You think your money defines you? What happens when the spotlight fades?" In that moment, something shifted. A ripple of shock spread through the guests, and Clara could see the questioning glances transform into a silent acknowledgement of her worth. The energy in the room sparked as a newfound courage fueled her words. "I was never just here to serve you," Clara continued, her voice rising again, powerful and resonant. "I am more than just your maid. I have dreams that matter and deserve to be shared." There was a crack in Veronica's icy facade. Clara noticed, just for a moment, a flicker of vulnerability pass through her eyes. Had she touched a nerve? The tension tightened again, surrounding them like a charged storm waiting to break. Realizing the crowd's attention was firmly on them now, Clara pressed forward. "If you want your perfect day, maybe you should learn to appreciate the people around you. Help them shine, instead of stifling them in the darkness." The weight of her words settled over them, heavy with truth. Clara took a deep breath, letting some of the anger flow out. "I won't back down. I deserve my moment just as much as you do. Veronica's face blanched, then blazed again with anger. Yet Clara could see the uncertainty clouding her expression. The ripples of her earlier esteem were starting to erode. What are you going to do about it? Veronica challenged, blinking rapidly, trying to reclaim control. The guests were now watching with bated breath, hanging onto the cliff of this confrontation. Clara's pulse quickened. She hadn't planned this far. She only knew she couldn't return to being invisible, to being silenced. I'll keep speaking up. I won't let anyone decide my worth for me anymore. The crowd began to murmur, a chorus of mixed opinions and equally divided loyalties forming like a tidal wave. Clara could feel the shift, the support, the belief in her words. Suddenly, someone from the crowd shouted, "Let her speak." And the sentiment caught like wildfire. Veronica's eyes flickered with rage, but the voices became louder, echoing Clara's plea for recognition. As the din rose around them, Clara felt her heart swell with hope, but at the same time, a shiver of apprehension ran down her spine. This was just the beginning. What if she pushed too far? What might Veronica do in revenge? In that charged moment, amid the excitement and fear, Clara squared her shoulders. She wasn't backing down, but would it be enough to truly change her fate? As the faces of the guests leaned toward her, Clara felt uncertain but powerful, ready for the chance to shift. The very fabric of her world, the air was electric with the promise of transformation. A reckoning awaited, and Clara felt it was now or never. Would she courageously fight for her ground, or would her defiance unleash something darker? Clara's heart raced as she stood at the center of the storm, surrounded by the whispers and gasps of the guests. Each murmur felt like a wave of energy, surging up to meet her, lifting her higher. But she understood the danger, too. Veronica's fury was palpable, a wildfire waiting for a spark, and Clara wasn't sure she wanted to be the one to ignite it. "Do you hear that?" Veronica's voice cut through the noise, frail yet fierce, struggling to reclaim command. "You're nothing but a sideshow, a pity party for everyone to gawk at. This is my wedding." Clara stood firm, her chin angled defiantly. The chaos swirling around her did not easily chew her spirit. "And this is my moment to remind everyone that love isn't just a show, it's who we are, how we treat each other." The crowd responded with a subtle shift, heads nodding slowly, eyes lighting with recognition. Clara had touched upon something real. It wasn't just about the wedding or Veronica's wealth, it was a call for connection, a need for authenticity in a sea of superficiality. "Well, you and your friends should just leave then." Veronica spat, her composure starting to fracture. "No one wants to hear your lame excuses for being here." Clara felt her knees quiver, but she wouldn't bend. She refused to let Veronica's words drown her. "You're right. I don't have to be here," she countered, her voice stronger now, fueled by an inner strength she didn't know she had. "But that doesn't mean I won't fight for what's right. You can carry on your charade, but I'm not playing the role you've given me." The crowd seemed to lean in closer, drawn by the intensity of the confrontation. A widow in the back nodded, her wise eyes glistening with support. A man with salt and pepper hair whispered to his partner, glancing between the two women. Clara could feel their energy, pulling her up when she threatened to fall. Veronica, unable to regain the ground she'd lost, turned to the crowd, desperate to shift their loyalty back to her. "You all know this is just a stunt, right? She's just trying to make a name for herself at my expense. Or maybe she's trying to be heard." Someone interjected from the back, and a ripple of agreement spread like a quickening storm. Clara felt the warmth of excitement spread through her as she harnessed that energy. "I'm not asking for a name," she implored, her eyes sweeping across the faces gleaming back at her. "Just the opportunity to shine, just like anyone else deserves. We all want to belong, don't we?" The words hung in the air, a thread of hope stretching over the crowd. Clara could see some guests nodding in encouragement, some with tears glistening in their eyes. It was a moment of recognition, a moment of connection. But Veronica's face darkened. You think you can rewrite the story? You think you'll walk out of here like a hero? You don't even know what you're up against. Before she could react, a shaky voice echoed through the gathering, "She's right, Veronica. This isn't just your party. It's about all of us who stood in the shadows." It was Nick, the tall bartender, who'd always been quietly observant, now stepping forward to voice the unspoken. Clara's heart thundered. It was like a dam bursting. More voices chimed in, agreeing, rising against the tide of privilege. This wasn't just her battle anymore, it was a shared fight for dignity. Clara could feel that dark dread creep back. This response could unleash a hurt she wasn't prepared for. "Stay away from my friends," Veronica shot back, her voice dripped with venom. "You have no idea what you're inviting into this place." And suddenly the air shifted again, tension thickening, rippling warnings barely concealed beneath a layer of defiance. Clara felt the tightness coil in her chest. What would be the price of this stand? What revenge was waiting to sink its teeth into her? The moment she lowered her defenses, Clara took a step forward, a surge of resolve filling her. She wouldn't back down now, but what if her courage only fueled the fire? The crowd's energy buzzed around her, potent, intoxicating, leading to the edge of transformation. What would Clara do if the battle turned against her? Would the power of community be enough to shield her from the weight of Veronica's wrath? The room felt electric, charged with emotions both raw and palpable. Clara held her breath, the very air thick with unspoken words and newfound alliances. She never imagined that standing up for herself would ripple through the crowd like a wave. The guests, normally so stuck on the sidelines, were beginning to find their voices. "Let us talk about the truth," someone called from the far side of the hall, their voice cracking but brave. Clara's heart soared. Each word seemed to unravel the tightest knots of fear in her chest. This wasn't about being a victim anymore, this was about declaring a very real story that too many people carried alone. Veronica's face twisted in horror. "You're all fools. This is what happens when you let one ungrateful girl invite chaos." Her shrill shout served only to fuel Clara's resolve. The crowd wasn't foolish, they were awakening, and she could see it in their eyes. This was about more than just her. "Enough." Clara found her voice firm, resonating through the turmoil. She took a step closer to Veronica, edging into the core of her anger. "This isn't chaos. It's liberation. And we're no longer afraid of you." The crowd cheered quietly, a murmur of support shifting towards her, like leaves blowing in the direction of a gust. Clara was shocked. Could that be true? Could they really be leaving the confines of their comfort zones to stand with her against Veronica's tyranny? Veronica's eyes blazed, searching for allies among the crowd. "You are all too naive to see what she's doing. Are you really going to take the side of someone who's less than you?" The venom in her words echoed darkly. "That's the point," Clara interrupted, waving her hand like a wand to cast her spell of solidarity. "She's not less than you. None of us are. We've all struggled, we've all faced judgment. Every single one of us has a story. Sharing those stories makes us stronger, it breaks the walls down." More voices erupted in agreement. Clara couldn't hide her astonishment. It felt illegal, exhilarating. People who usually lurked in the background, shyly sipping their drinks, were now leaning in, emboldened by her words. Clara turned back to face Veronica, her heart hammering like a drum in her chest. "You've built a world for yourself around a single narrative, your glory, your wealth, but no more. We refuse to be quiet." With that, a ripple of laughter broke out, surprising even Clara. It was that wonderful, courageous laugh that ignited the spirit. The realization hit her, this was a moment of empowerment, not just for her, but for everyone collective who had been silenced for too long. "Your reign has ended, Veronica," yelled Nick, his voice booming. No. Veronica spat, but the weight of her anger felt lighter now. Suddenly, a dapper older gentleman stepped forward beside Clara. "It's true, Veronica," he said, his voice unfaltering. "I was once too ashamed to speak my truth. I lost friends, family, but here we are, all here to say no to your lies and manipulations." The room began to vibrate with agreement again, growing louder. Was Clara dreaming? This was turning into something so much bigger, something she never planned for. The energy around her rippled, and she could almost taste the empowerment among the crowd, but on the periphery, a familiar tension snapped. Veronica, red-faced and seething, raised a finger, a silent command for silence. "What do you think you're doing? No one wants to hear your pitiful stories. My life is far more interesting." Before anyone could react, she lunged for Clara, storming her way through the sea of guests. Panic rose within Clara. Would she strike back? Would fury unleash a chaotic torrent? Clara held her ground, every heartbeat echoing in her ears. The chaos had reached a crescendo. But would it drown her hope? This wasn't just about opening wounds, it was about healing them through honesty and community. What would happen next? Would courage give way to a moment of reckoning? What would Clara become in this storm of truth and defiance? Clara stood her ground, the urgency of the moment wrapping around her like a tempest. She could feel the way the air thickened, the tension had reached its peak. A bead of sweat trickled down her temple as she locked eyes with Veronica, a fierce battle of wills commencing in a silence that felt heavy. In the next heartbeat, Veronica's hands shot out towards her, but instead of trembling in fear, Clara felt an unexpected rush of resolve. This was her moment, not just to defend herself, but to stand as a pillar for all those who had spent their lives hiding in the shadows. She found her voice rising above the panic, controlled yet passionate. "You think your life is interesting because you hide behind wealth and power?" Clara challenged, her voice cutting through Veronica's rage. "True stories are written in struggle and resilience, not in the luxury that blinds you to the pain of others." A ripple of gasps and murmurs echoed through the crowd. The collective breath of the guests seemed to synchronize, each person leaning closer, as if drawing energy from Clara's defiance. A glimmer of hope ignited in her chest. "Think about it." Clara pressed on, her heart galloping. "You've relied on fear to control us. But we're done being afraid." She could feel her pulse in her fingertips, the space between her and Veronica crackling with intensity. Suddenly, a few voices broke through, shouting in support. "Yes. No more." The energy was infectious. Clara could see nods of agreement, expressions of solidarity, and they were rising up as one. Veronica faltered, her anger became a whirlwind of confusion. "You think you can win this? You're all nothing." Her words dripped with venom, but the control she once held was shattering. Clara stepped forward, the crowd shifting with her, a unified force. "We are not nothing. We are a collective of stories, experiences, scars, and triumphs. Each of us claims our space here, our truth. We matter." As she spoke, she saw faces transform, shy smiles breaking through past burdens, tears glistening in the corners of appreciative eyes. "Do you see them, Veronica? Real stories that deserve to be told. It's time you understood that your voices cannot silence us anymore. Your game is over." Clara felt a force that was hard to describe, like a current pulling her in. The crowd erupted in cheers, their words a harmonious chorus igniting a fire within her. They weren't just rallying behind her, they were reclaiming their voices. But then, in a sudden moment of desperation, Veronica lunged again, this time seizing a wine glass from a nearby table. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Would she throw it? The crowd's cheers faltered, edging back, uncertain. "Clara!" Nick yelled, stepping forward, ready to intervene. The chaos in the room felt like it could erupt in every direction. Clara's instincts told her to step back, but something inside compelled her to stay, to believe in this newfound strength they had discovered together. In that heartbeat, everything hung suspended. Could Clara confront not only Veronica's fury but the weight of all their past fears? This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a chance to forge a new future, one solidly built on unity and acceptance. Enough! Clara shouted again, her voice rising above the chaos with fierce conviction. You will not scare us back into silence. Veronica paused, her expression shifting from rage to something almost vulnerable. Clara could see cracks forming in the once impenetrable armor of arrogance. But in that silence, another voice emerged from the crowd, someone they hadn't expected. It's time we expose your truth, Veronica. Let the world see what you've built on lies. Clara stood breathless, the weight of that revelation slamming into her like a wave. What truth could possibly unravel Veronica's reign further? With tension still thick in the air, a new chapter of their confrontation loomed just ahead. What secrets would emerge? And would Clara be ready to confront the storm waiting to break loose? Clara felt her heart thundering in her chest. The room had turned electric, everyone hanging on that single voice that had shattered the tension. She searched the crowd, her eyes darting around for the source. Was it a friend? An enemy? She couldn't tell, but she did know one thing: it had sparked something deep inside her. Veronica's fury was boiling over, and Clara sensed the moment could tilt in either direction. The crowd, previously hesitant, began to murmur, their curious stares fixed on Veronica. This wasn't just fear anymore, it was intrigue, and with intrigue came power. What lies? Veronica sneered, her bravado wavering just slightly. But Clara could see her defenses crumbling, as if the air around them was slowly suffocating the pretense. It's time you stopped pretending to be someone you're not, Veronica, the voice from the crowd continued. It was a woman, a mother of two by the looks of it, her face smeared with emotion. We've seen how you wield your wealth like a weapon. We learned about your parties, your extravagant lies, and how you've manipulated our lives. Your actions have consequences. A wave of nods and quiet affirmations rippled through the crowd, each person feeling the weight of the shared truth. Clara felt their strength mingling with her own, pushing her forward, heart racing. Yes. She chimed in, her voice now resonating with the energy swirling around her. This isn't just about us, it's about the stories you've ignored. It's time to answer for all the people you've silenced. Veronica paled, her grip on the wine glass starting to tremble. You think you can take me down with your pathetic stories? Her laughter sounded hollow. You think I care about what any of you think? I built my empire, and I'll protect it. Clara took a step closer, letting the audience's energy flow through her like fire. You built your empire on lies, and it's crumbling right before your very eyes. No more hiding behind the smoke and mirrors. The truth is out there, and it's time everyone hears it. The crowd erupted again, shouting encouragement, fueling Clara's courage. She had begun to realize the stories being untold weren't just hers and those of the folks standing nearby. They were part of a bigger tapestry of deceit that Veronica had woven over the years. Veronica's eyes darted nervously, searching for a way to escape the crushing pressure building around her. You're desperate. She hissed, her composure fraying fast. You think you can scare me? Do you even know what I'm capable of? Clara could see a glimmer of vulnerability beneath Veronica's mask of fury. No, but I know what we're all capable of together, Clara said, heart pounding. And we aren't scared of you anymore. The room buzzed with energy, and as her words sank into the crowd, they began cheering again, a chant beginning to pile up like a wave ready to crash over. They were reclaiming their power, each cheer a step towards liberation, but just then, a loud crash interrupted the burgeoning momentum. A chair had toppled over in the corner and the crowd gasped, falling momentarily silent. Was it just a slip, or was it a sign of the chaos that could still ensue? Clara's heart raced in that uncertain pause. She couldn't help but wonder, Was the breakthrough at hand or another threat waiting just beneath the surface? In that moment of stillness, Clara felt the weight of the world inching back. Would they be able to sustain this newfound courage against an empire built on fear? The question hung heavy in the air, a potent reminder of the fragile ground they stood on. And at that moment, as Clara scanned the growing crowd, one question lingered in her mind: what would happen when the full force of the truth came crashing down on them all? The silence in the room felt heavy, thick with anticipation as eyes remained glued to Veronica. Clara stood at the forefront, feeling the raw energy crackling like electricity around her. Moments stretched, she could practically hear the collective heartbeat of the crowd as they pondered whether this would all come crashing down or if they could lift each other to new heights. "What's it going to be, Veronica?" Clara pushed, her voice steady despite the rapid thump of her heart. "Will you come clean, or will you continue to hide behind your lies?" The crowd shifted uneasily. Some folks clutched each other's hands, their grip tight, taking comfort in solidarity. Others looked around as if weighing their options, trying to anticipate Veronica's next move. Clara caught the gaze of the mother who had spoken up earlier. Hope flickered in her eyes, a reflection of their shared struggle, urging Clara to keep going. Veronica's face turned a shade of crimson, and then whiter fury caught somewhere between fury and fear. "You think you can judge me?" she snapped, her voice rising as she pushed through the crowd toward Clara, waving her arm in an attempt to disperse their energy. "You're all just petty, jealous people. What do you know about my life? I've worked hard. Hard work doesn't excuse the pain you've caused." Clara shouted back, refusing to back down. "We're not mad because you have wealth, we're mad because of how you've used it to stifle us." The air thickened with tension, but Clara pressed on. "We are fighting for our stories, our truths. You can't silence us anymore." With those words, something shifted in the crowd. They were no longer passive spectators but active participants in this confrontation. Veins pulsing, Clara felt the brewing storm between them. Veronica's mask was slipping, revealing the raw desperation beneath. Clara wondered, what kind of scars lay buried within those walls of privilege? What did she hide behind her fortune? Suddenly, a voice broke the charged atmosphere. A man from the back shouted, "We deserve to be heard too." His words were powerful, igniting sparks of laughter and cheers from several in the crowd. Encouragement spread like wildfire, fueling the growing wave against Veronica. Each person rallied together, transforming uncertainty into collective bravery. "Together, we can shine some light into those dark corners," Clara continued, her heartbeat matching the rhythm of their chants. "Let us lift each other. Let us tell our stories." Even as she spoke, Clara noticed Veronica's eyes darting, scanning the crowd. Clara could almost see her calculating choices. The fear began to seep out, replaced by something more chilling. "You'll all regret this," Veronica hissed, her voice lowering but still crackling with indignation. "You have no idea what consequences await you." The threat was stark and palpable, prompting Clara to pause momentarily. But the shared energy of the group grounded her, and the importance of this moment swirled around like a whirlwind. "You think we haven't faced consequences before?" Clara countered. "You don't scare us anymore." The crowd erupted again as they surged behind Clara, a wall of unyielding resolve. But with the growing promise of victory also came echoes of doubt. What if the risks were greater than they anticipated? What if this confrontation led them into deeper trouble? And then, just as the crowd began to reach an undeniable crescendo, Veronica locked eyes with Clara. Something dark and deep flickered in her gaze. In that moment, it dawned on Clara that they were not just challenging a wealthy woman, they were shaking the very foundations of a system that had held them down for so long. The air crackled, thick with possibilities and uncertainties, as Clara realized they stood on the edge of something monumental. Would they be ready for what came next? The fallout from exposing truths that could bring everything crumbling down. What lay in wait behind the door of revelation? The moment hung in the air, charged with tension, as Clara faced Veronica, the echoes of the crowd swelling around her. She felt the weight of countless stories merging with her own, creating an undeniable force of truth. They stood together in a battlefield of ideals, the fragile glass of decency shattered beneath raw, honest words. "You think we're scared?" Clara pressed, her heart pounding with relentless determination. "You use your wealth to silence us, but we're not backing down anymore." The crowd surged forward, waving signs, simple paper declarations of power and solidarity. The tide was shifting. Veronica's complexion changed, fear flickering momentarily before she smirked, attempting to regain control. "You don't understand what you're doing," she sneered, her voice steadying as she clenched her fists. "You're all inviting chaos into your lives." "Chaos?" someone called out, a young man with bright eyes stepping forward. "You mean the chaos of truth? It's time to let the people live freely." A wave of agreement rippled through the assembly, hearts beating stronger, fists raised in unity. Clara felt the magic of the moment. She remained anchored, even as the storm loomed within Veronica. "You wield your influence like a weapon, but see how quickly it falters when the truth is unveiled." She took a step closer, embracing the musings from the crowd. "We're breaking the spell you cast on us. No more silence." Veronica's facade cracked, and for the first time, vulnerability flashed across her features. "You think you have the strength to win this?" she stammered, a threat of fear unmistakable in her tone. "They'll turn against you." "No, Veronica." A woman with kind eyes echoed from the back. "You underestimate the power of community." A new energy brewed, and Clara realized they were transforming this moment into a true movement. "I'm done waiting for permission to be seen," Clara shouted, feeding off the rising cheers, faces lighting up with encouragement. "We're here, and we matter." That charge sparked something deep within everyone. Murmurs turned into a chorus of support. "Clara! Clara!" echoed through the hall, a rhythmic chant that filled the spaces between them. In stark contrast, realization dawned on Veronica. "You're all fools. You're nothing without me," she shouted, desperately clinging to control. But her efforts fell flat against the collective heartbeat of the crowd, which had now grown overwhelming in spirit and size. "Try us," Clara challenged, tilting her chin defiantly. "Our power comes from standing together, from sharing our stories, and from lifting each other up." She was at the center of something bigger than herself. It was exhilarating, and then came the moment. "Together, we rise," Clara cried, a battle cry that erupted through the space, igniting the crowd like a shooting star. A powerful wave of collective energy surged through them. Suddenly, Veronica's confidence teetered. The realization that her empire could crumble began to settle in. The energy shifted, transforming powerlessness into empowerment, as Clara felt the warmth of their connection engulf her. "Your empire was built on lies, and we won't be part of it any longer," Clara pressed, her voice steady and infectious. "We are forging a new narrative. One where we all matter." Veronica's eyes turned glassy, the angry defiance evaporating. "You will regret this," she shouted, the words lacking conviction, now more of a warning to herself. A murmur rippled through the guests, shifting slowly, but with certainty. Each sound was a testament to their awakening, a step toward liberation. "No more regrets, just freedom." A chorus erupted, voices lifting higher. As the cheers mounted, Berlin knew they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The crowd swelled, transforming the discontent into a movement, ready to march forward. Clara stood resolute, heart racing yet light. She felt the warmth of countless souls igniting the spirit of hope. No longer would she be the maid in the shadows. She was a storyteller at the forefront, a warrior of truth and equality, and just like that, as they faced off against the remnants of privilege, Clara discovered the unyielding strength of their unity. It was a sacred promise, a commitment to one another that shone brighter than any chandelier in Veronica's opulent mansion. "Let us step out of the shadows," Clara roared, and the guests echoed back, "Together." Veronica stumbled back, retreating as realization washed over her. The walls she'd built started to tremble, ready to crumble beneath the weight of the secrets held within. The crowd erupted, celebration and freedom intertwined. Clara stood tall, feeling each heartbeat around her carry hope and change. This was not the end, it was a rebirth, a reclaiming of their narratives, a breaking free from the bonds of silence. As Clara turned away from Veronica, she felt lighter, as if she could finally breathe. With her voice carrying the spirit of so many, she confronted not just a woman, but a system. Their victory rested on the horizon, and nothing would silence their song again. "You are not alone," she whispered as the chants echoed through the hall, "forging a new beginning." In that moment, Clara understood. They had ignited the flame of change, driven by love and truth, united in their purpose. She couldn't wait to see where their shared journey would lead, toward a world where everyone could sing their stories out loud. And as the chants faded into laughter and cheers, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, like stepping into the embrace of a long-lost family. This was only the beginning, a chapter still being written, full of promise and hope. Now it was time to share this journey with everyone they could reach. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your support matters.